I'm William Nozak, and in this module, I'm going to talk about researching and writing content. Why research before writing content? Content is currency when it comes to digital marketing. Right, the website is designed of JavaScript, HTML, CSS, some other components. But really that content, that HTML component, where we're actually talking in sentences that people are reading, that's really what the bots say, ooh, this website is about this, ooh, this web page, or this set of pages, or this category or tag. So to create relevant, high quality content, you must do research. You cannot guess what posts need to be written. You will not get it right. You need to look at what the competition is writing, what people are looking for to read, what's being written about seasonally, annually, and just typically what are good topics to have on your website as resources. Without research or writing in the best way, content can end up hindering marketing efforts. Teams put a lot of time into content creation. We've seen teams where that's all they do, but they have no goal. They have no idea what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, what they're trying to write about. That's why if we write down every single topic, from a macro perspective, what is every single categorical thing that we might write about in an industry, and we bucket those things. And then we have buckets of topics underneath them, so that when we write that main piece of content, we can write smaller pieces of content that all connect to it and horizontally to one another. So without this research, we don't even know what we should be writing about. What is the complete picture of a topic? 10-step guide for how to research and write content. 1, find the voice when writing. Certainly we want to have a unique perspective, a unique take in how we're presenting our product service through content. Specificity when writing. Really, we want to really be specific on what use cases this makes sense for, all the way from overarching many cases all the way down to single use cases. Know your audience when writing. This is demographics, this is psychographics, this is personas. Really, we want to know more about that person so we can write better content for that potential buyer. Back up all key points when researching. So whenever we find a statistic, certainly we want to reference someone else's statistic. Hey, we found this statistic over here. And the more scholarly those sources are, the better our content comes across. So less is more when writing. We want to be concise. We want to use brevity. At the same time, we want to completely cover a topic. And so however many words that takes, we want to hit that benchmark. At the same time, we don't want to try to hit some word benchmark of 1,000 words and then just talk aimlessly all day long in circles. We really want to keep it as concise and have brevity with it while completely or exhaustively covering a topic that should be on that page or post. Connecting content when writing. So if we've got this major article, then we want to also link to additional resources that maybe this page, it doesn't make sense to put this content on this page because it would be out of scope, and this page may not rank for this specific topic. So we'll have these ancillary pages, and then we'll use a main page to have above it in the hierarchy. We'll call that vertically. But then we also want to have pages that link out horizontally so people can learn more about something specific they need. So stay connected. Uncover key questions. This is FAQs, who, what, where, when, why. We get a lot of this from Google, what Google shows us at the top and when you're searching in the search bar and at the footer. We really can use a software called Answer the Public, and it scrapes all of that and puts it all in one place. And we really don't want to have general FAQs anymore. We really want to put FAQs on that specific page that we're trying to rank that content for. It just kind of digs it in a little bit further. And we want to use schema markup when it's appropriate. Pay attention to the details. This is grammar, spelling, making sure that we're not creating junky content that gets outdated as soon as it's published. And then on the goal, what is the goal of this content? So find your voice. When writing content, it's essential to use the right voice. Your product or service can be called probably 5 different things. How are we going to talk about it? How do we reference our product and our service? Are we fast and efficient? Are we are people price sensitive that buy from us? Are we not the cheap option in the market, but there's reasons for that. So we want to talk about it consistently. A lot of times you're going to use a voice guide. There's a lot of questions that can be asked in a voice guide. How do we come across in the writing? And it keeps the writers consistent. Granted, if you have a website, maybe a news source where there's like 5, 6, 7, 8 different writers, maybe 30 different writers, they all may have their own voice. You certainly still want to keep people within a voice guide of the brand. So when writing content, use a distinct voice. And this is going to separate us just from boring content. And it should reflect the brand. How are we trying to come across to the marketplace? Specificity when researching. Consider the extra value that can be added to the content by thinking about what yet isn't covered, as well as what's relevant to the target market. Certainly, what are people not saying, and how can we say those things? And then once we know our personas are our buying market, how can we repackage content and information so that they can use it for their specific situations and scenarios? So we really want to be specific. There are, of course, some things we're going to write at the top of the funnel that's a catch-all. Maybe we're trying to become an expert, authority, or the trust in the space, or trustworthy in the space. So we might write these content pieces that really lack specificity. At the same time, we want to dig it in so it kind of niches it in and helps people. Ooh, this is the company, they're writing directly for me. Ooh, I should be using their product. So be specific and approach content from new angles. If people have written, these are why we do this, you might write an article saying this is why we don't do this. Things like that, or here are more reasons why we do this, and this. So customers will be more likely to read the content, share it, like it, come back to it. Know your audience when writing. So use demographic data. You're going to get different. So know your audience when writing. So you're going to get demographic data. You're going to get it from organic. You're going to get it from ads. You're going to get it from social media as you use. Create this persona of person so you understand what their needs are. Psychographics, if we know what their interests are, or personas really that we've developed, and we know exactly how they want to read their content, from the technical to the overview, from the 30,000 foot view to down in the weeds. Having that understanding of how people are consuming your content is going to help your writers to make sure that they cover enough so that people keep coming back to it. They keep knowing that they're going to get value from your content. And it's not just going to be this fluffy junk pitch of your business over and over again. It's like providing value at the same time we're in the middle of the funnel. Hey, here's the difference between us and the competitors. And then we're at the bottom of the funnel somewhere in a piece of content saying, look, this is how we deliver it. If we're a right fit for you, then let's do business. So know your audience when writing. Back up all key points when researching. Always strategically utilize research to prove a point in content. If we pull stats or something that was done in research by someone else, we certainly want to source them or cite them in our content. If we're rewriting something that's, everyone else is writing the same things and we've read 5 or 6 articles and then we're writing ours, you don't need to source any of them. That would be what we consider common knowledge. If you write an original take on it, certainly that becomes a little bit more of your viewpoint, and it becomes part of your voicing and your positioning and your branding, your value proposition to your people coming to your website. So be mindful of this. Back up the points by really reputable people that we will never be as reputable of, and they are just the reputable person in the space for statistics and stats and things like that, and what they say and how they say talk about things. At the same time, use your own resources, your own studies, your own experiences to talk about those as well. So use research to help back up any points made within the content. Cite authoritative sources. There's no penalty here. In fact, it's good to increase your link graph to linking out to other very reputable places out there in the digital space because it connects you in the space. Less is more when writing. Long, unfocused content is terrible. It will fail. You certainly want to have long content that's exhaustive and is in scope. If I'm trying to cover something that should be covered in 5,000 words, I'm trying to cover it in 1,000 words, that's going to be ineffective. For one, the page isn't going to rank well. 2, it's not giving me everything I need. Maybe I have the additional things on other pages because they just belong on other pages. That's fine. Certainly have this page and all these other pages as a complete, exhaustive study of a topic, from a macro perspective to categorical perspectives to tag perspectives. Know where we need to go with the content strategy so we at least can set off and start getting that content written. Be concise with your wording. Yeah, don't think about words. I need to hit this 1,000-word benchmark, so I'm writing fluffy. Don't do that. You hit a 1,000-word benchmark, a 5,000-word benchmark, because that is what was required. Whatever is required is what you would write it in. So be concise. Use only the words you need to. Write as few words as possible to completely cover a topic. Stay informed to stay ahead. Content's changing. Understand what other people and how they're pitching their content. Get in their email drips. Follow their blogs so you can understand what they're writing about. Follow their social medias. Follow industry people. Follow the watchdogs and the organizations that are right there inside your industry so you know what they're talking about. So we can also talk about those things. And so we want to stay informed so we become the source so people can trust us to find good information from us. Connecting content when writing. This is called internal linking, linking horizontally to other pieces that are really kind of equal value. And this is linking vertically to maybe something that should be above it. Think of a pyramid. This page is certainly the most important page, but then we've got all of these pages below it or beside it that maybe could be considered equals to that page. And then external linking. We also want to get links from other resources so linking externally to other resources that make sense, maybe not on a homepage, somewhere on a blog somewhere, linking externally to those things, linking internally to the other resources on our property, getting links from other properties that are applicable and are helpful for other people to get to our resource. So we want to connect the writing. So whether it's a blog, landing page, case study, take the opportunity to connect different pieces of content together. Where do they sit together? What's the hierarchy? How can we link to one another so that we can reduce our bounce rate, increase our dwell time, the pages that people typically get through on our blog continually grows up as we put more and more time into our blog strategy. Uncover key questions when researching. So when we're doing the research, which is like, I don't know, 30-40% of the time that it takes us to get a piece of content done, we're starting with that macro research, and then we want to research the pages. So once we've identified the topic, put the corners on the topic, then like we want to put the edges of those topics, like categories. And then when we're writing in a category, we might say, look, there's 10 pages inside this category that we really must have. And then we're going to uncover the questions, who, what, where, when, why, frequently asked questions that belong on that page. And then we're going to make that page kind of stand on its own with additional resources that may be additional reads or things that are just a little bit outside scope of that page, so that we've got lots of resources that aren't fighting one another, but working together to create this holistic approach at content, because content is a strategy. It separates you from those that are not saying, hey, look, we're going to tell you what we know, and we're also going to tell you some other things about the space because we are the expert in this space. It just helps us to open up our content strategy, which eventually should lead to impressions, clicks, leads, and sales. Pay attention to the details. Always edit. Always proofreading. When one person is researching, a lot of times it's another person writing it, and then there's another person proofing it, and then there's another person publishing it, and there's another person doing the schema markup when it's applicable, and making sure that, and then after a certain set is updated to the website, there's another person going back through sometimes and looking at the internal links, because not all the resources are typically up when internal links are ready. So we're always going back and saying, okay, I've got this new resource. How can I go back to these other pieces and update their internal linking structures as well to go forward and backwards? So edit, proofread, and then we're just going so over several layers of editing here. Stay focused on the goal. Stay in scope. Whatever the scope is of this post, don't get out of scope. It's not like a preacher's message where they can rabbit trail on 50 different things. For the web, you really got to stay in scope. If there's something that's causing you to get a little bit out of scope, write a paragraph, put in a link, cover it on a different page. If you need to cover that paragraph in this page because it makes sense to, we're not covering it exhaustively. If we want to talk about that one thing that really does apply on this page, but we need to talk about that for 1,000 or 2,000 words or 5,000 words, put that on another page. And so we can cover it stay in scope and not change the scope of the page by putting all this ridiculous information that's really kind of out of scope of the page. So keep the purpose of the content. What's the purpose of the landing page? What's the purpose of the squeeze page? Any interior pages? What is the purpose of a blogging strategy that's gonna go hundreds or thousands of blogs in? Do we have that roadmap, and do they all make sense to get together? If you need to go back and watch Researching and Writing Content. I know it's a lot. If not, I'll see you in the next module.